Everyone's got a passion which they'd love to turn into their full-time job or keep it a side hustle. I want to know what motivates you to get out of bed and seize the day. I'm Pyle Doshi, and I have a passion for sports. I've had a chance to make sports my full-time job and haven't regretted the decision I've made. My next guest echoes my sentiments. Christian Alicpala, basketball development and event coordinator. He's taken quite the unconventional route to follow his passion. It's time to hear from Christian.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Chris. Thanks for joining us here on Passion Projects.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be here.
Tell us about your journey. How did you get to where you are?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, it's quite a long story. I guess we'll start off that I was born in the Philippines. Came to Canada when I was first generation immigrants, where they've immigrated here to Toronto to seek a better life and more opportunities. And I was very fortunate that that was able to happen. I couldn't imagine my life growing back home, but I had a lot of opportunity to really grow in the city of Toronto. Learned a lot. Grew up in Scarborough. And growing up was really a passion of mine was basketball. Especially my culture being in the Philippines, basketball was something that was almost like a religion to us. Mm-hmm. And so, but for my parents, on the other hand, education was really important to them. And so, growing up, education was always first, and basketball was a passion. Was more of a hobby, and they never felt that. Basketball is something that I could make a career out of. And right. So they really pushed on education. And for my parents, they really pushed me into civil engineering, actually. So after high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to get into. And so I said, you know what, this is my parents' dream. And for them, there's nothing more that I want to do is make them happy. I'm the only child, and you always want to make sure that your parents are happy. So I went into civil engineering, and you know what, I actually gave it a shot. Right after I graduated, I had a full-time position as a junior consultant at an engineering firm. And for the 2 years, it was actually the most maturing years of my life. I really got to experience the grown-up life, I guess you could say. And then after the 2 years, I really figured that, this is not for me. This is not something that really maximizes my full potential. And my passion was always basketball. And so I had to make a difficult decision in, resigning from my position and letting my parents know that, hey, you know what? This is not something I can see myself doing for the rest of my life.
But how did your parents feel when you said
Oh my gosh. Man, it was the most heartbreaking thing for them. Again, especially for them being the first generation immigrants here in Canada. Education is important to them. And so, because I went to school for engineering, they were very disappointed. They felt that, they came to Canada for further opportunities, more opportunities to live a better life, and for me to, resign from my position where they felt like I was very successful, it really crushed them. And I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. I told my parents, like, look, I really want to pursue something in basketball. Mm-hmm. I want to give it a chance, and if it doesn't work, I will go back to civil engineering, because that's something a degree that I will always have.
Right.
But little did they know that, I had already said in my mind that I wasn't going to go back, and I'm going to make it work no matter what. Mm-hmm. And so, fast forward to now, being where I am today, they have a little bit more of a respect, and they said, you know what? Yeah, he did make it, not knowing that, that's the scary part, the uncertainty.
Yes.
Like not knowing where you're gonna land. And so right after I resigned from my position, I really didn't know where I wanted to be or where I was gonna go.
Now, when you resigned, did you already have a job?
No. I remember my last day on my job. I actually went to a coach training, a coach certification class, because I felt like, hey, if I wanted to get into basketball, maybe coaching is somewhere that I'd like to go to. And so no job after. I worked something out with my previous employer. I said, hey, can you say that you laid me off so I can somehow apply for some sort of employment insurance of some sort, just to get myself back up on my feet. But during that time, it really, my back was against the wall, and I said, you know what, I have to make this work no matter what. So I did whatever it took to get myself out there, and I was fortunate enough to pick up a phone call and call Ontario Basketball. That's the provincial body here. Mm-hmm. And they actually I missed the cutoff for their internship program. And that really, for others, it's like, oh, I missed the boat, I got to look for something else. But for me, I actually took another step. I actually called, or I emailed the president at the OBA at that time, and I said, look, this is my current situation. I'd love to intern for the Ontario Basketball Association. And lucky enough, the president at the time referred me to the executive director, and from there really helped me get an interview for the internship position, and I had the opportunity to intern for them. So
that's amazing. Your persistence took you to where you wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And back in our day, not to say that we're old or anything, but it was picking up the phone. It was sending out an email. It was going out for coffee. Not something that people regularly do these days, but I think that is what kind of sparked the interest in going for your dreams, going all out there. Because I know in my situation too, I would literally pick up the phone and I would call to be like, hey, can I intern? Can I do this? And just get myself out there. I think, would you say that is what you needed to do to just create exposure for yourself? Yeah,
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that if there's something that you want to accomplish, it's really just getting up and chasing after it. Picking up a phone and making that connection. If for someone who really wanted to get into the, industry, those are some of the necessary things that you need to do in order to really get yourself out there. One thing in life that I've learned is nothing will fall on your lap. I think, getting up there and taking action and picking up a phone call, following up on emails, actually going to the office and speaking to somebody, that just goes to show how bad you want it. A lot of people, they say, hey, you know what, I think I want to be this, or I want to get into that, and don't necessarily take action. No, you got to really get up and take action, and whatever you really need to do. And volunteering, that's another opportunity to really showcase what your worth is. And when you volunteer, you actually, a lot of people, their mindset is like, oh, when you volunteer, you're working for free. Where, well, you got to change your mindset that, I'm volunteering, but I'm making connections. I'm in the industry that I'm working towards, and connection, networking, right? Getting an opportunity to showcase of what you're worth and what you are able to bring to the table.
And your networking has been able to take you many places as well.
Absolutely.
One of the places that's near and dear to my heart is India. You've been able to travel the world through basketball.
Yep.
What has that experience been like for you?
First off, India is an amazing country, an amazing culture. The hospitality that I received in India was outstanding. I recommend if anybody has is curious to go or wanting to go, definitely go and check it out. But prior to that, I want to explain how I got to India. And I was at the point where no jobs were coming, and I didn't really know. Again, there was the uncertainty. I didn't know where I was going to go. And, there was a point where, okay, my mom was like, hey, look, you're working for free, you're interning, I think it's really time to get a full-time job. My mom was like, hey, you're in civil, you went to civil engineering and you're not doing what you went to school for. And so that kind of gave me an extra push to get online and to search opportunities within the NBA. And I knew that, it was going to be difficult to get a job in NBA New York because you need to get your visa or whatnot. And so while I was just, browsing around the NBA careers, I saw an opportunity for NBA India, especially in Kochi. They were hiring for international head coaches for their junior NBA program. And I remember specifically, I was looking at the position and I said, I'm never going to get this job, but I'm going to apply anyway. And I applied for the position. A week later, I get an interview. The following week, I got scheduled for a second interview. And then by the third interview, they were like, yeah, we like you. And the following week after the third interview, I was already packing my bags and heading to India. And so,
why did you think that you weren't going to get it when you first applied? Why was that your mindset going into it?
You know what? A great question. My mindset was mainly because I was afraid of taking the risk of moving. I was tunnel visioned.
Right.
I was tunnel visioned there. I was like, you know what? There's only opportunities of where I want to find opportunities here because, that's where I live. That's where, where my family, my friends are. And you kind of almost have to take that mindset off, and you want to explore opportunities outside of the box. And, then that's ultimately, I said, I'm not going to get this job. This is all the way in India. Like, they're not going to, hire someone like me. But I'm very happy that they did, because it really opened my eyes and opened my horizon that, not only, a lot of people, when they look for opportunities from a jobs perspective, they look into only where they live. But no, there's a big world out there. There's opportunities, probably in your field or whatever it may be, in other places in the world that, you never dreamed of going to, but you can go there and do the exact same thing that you're interested in. And so
you shouldn't just restrict yourself to
absolutely
just that one specific
not at all
country or
not at all
your horizon.
Not at all. And so that's why when I went to NBA India, I was like, wow, for one, I'm working for the NBA. That's a pretty cool experience. And so when I was in India, Troy Justice, I know someone you know very well, and someone who I really look up to as a mentor.
Yes.
Fantastic person, and I was fortunate to report to him, and gave me the opportunity to work in India and do my thing out there.
What do you take from that experience? What were you able to showcase the kids about the game, about learning life skills through basketball?
Oh my gosh. First off, the kids were fantastic. Every time I came to a school, it was very welcoming. They were all very ecstatic. The fact that someone from a different country would go to their specific school and do a coaching session, and they were very responsive, very well disciplined. In India, the two sports are cricket and soccer, and so basketball is something very new to them. And so from a coordination standpoint, that was something that they really needed to focus on. But for me, it was a lot of fun because I love the development side of the sport. And for me, I just truly loved the experience because I felt that I was giving back some of the things that the game of basketball gave back to me. And so seeing the kids' faces, and really for them to pick it up, bouncing a basketball, they saw a lot of fun in it too. And I do hope that the growth of the sport is increases in India, because there's so many people there, and being the second largest populated country, I can't see why not have an Indian player play at the highest level.
Like we did see with Satnam, but not at that level, I guess, that we want to see with him playing in the NBA. But we did see with Sim, who's a Canadian, who's Indian as well, which is great. I want to know if there was a lasting story that really stands out for you when you were coaching these kids. Can you recollect something that you thought, hey, this kid has talent and I've seen him progress so much?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my experience there, I would go to school essentially 2 to 3 times a week, and one thing I love about the kids there are their work ethic. Education, similar to, their work ethic towards education. Anything that they do, anything that they, activity that they're involved in, their work ethic was simply outstanding. And every sort of drill or exercise that I did, they put their 110%. From regards to, their particular development, the kids at the very beginning, they didn't know how to bounce the basketball, they didn't know how to shoot the ball. But as the weeks go on and the more time I have with them, the more they got better. And it's simply teaching, having the kids get the right sort of training and coaching that will really help them develop and really excel.
That journey through India, your travels led you back full circle to Canada.
Yeah.
So what was it about that whole journey coming back? When did you realize for you that, hey, you know what, I've maximized my opportunity here and I want to go back home and I want to see what I can do at home to help build the game here in Canada?
You know what, my journey again is quite unique, and you have to be at the right place at the right time. And the reason why I say that is my term, I guess you could say, in NBA India was only for a short period of time. I was in India for about 3 to 4 months at most. And when I came back, I was back at that place of uncertainty. Right. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just finished my gig, and it was being at the right place at the right time, because my boss right now, he actually messaged me when I changed my LinkedIn title that I was going to be an international head coach for junior NBA in India. And so he messaged me and said, hey, would love to know more about what you did in India. And so when I actually got back, I met up with him. And I didn't know at the time, but they were actually starting the junior NBA development, which I'm doing currently right now. This was way back 4 years ago, and because I worked for the NBA, for NBA India, and I've coached kids specifically at the age group that they want to target. He just felt that I was a great candidate for the position.
Right.
And so with that said, because I've built previous relationships with him and I've volunteered numerous times and he knows who I am, he just felt like, hey, this is the guy that we would like to hire. And so it was a little bit of hard work, but looking back at it, I used to say, like, I got lucky until one of my good friends told me, he's like, no, it wasn't just luck. You put yourself in that position. Putting yourself, volunteering, and all that hard work paid off. And so I looked at it as like, yeah, absolutely. You know what, if it wasn't for me, getting up and reaching out to people and volunteering my time, I don't think I would have been noticed for this particular position. And so when I came back from India, I met up with him for breakfast, asked me a few questions, And I was totally oblivious. I didn't know that there was a position that was opening, and believe it or not, he was actually asking me for candidates, and I was really hyping them up. I said, yeah, this person here, totally great person. And I didn't really know until a few weeks later. I said, hey, I'm filling up a lot of papers right now.
Right.
And then it clicked that I said, hey, maybe this is an opportunity now that I'm going to be working for 4 years in it now. And again, very grateful to be where I am today. Not a lot of people can say that they mix their work and passion together. And the opportunities that I had, the amount of travels that I've done, my network is just really crazy, outstanding. So
you wake up every morning enjoying what you do, looking forward to the game.
Yep.
Looking forward to helping see these kids grow. What would you say is something that you've seen kids in Canada grow within their game when it comes to basketball and kind of correlating that to life?
One thing that really stands out for me is really the popularity of basketball, not necessarily their skill set. One of the things that you'll notice is a lot of NBA players are Canadians. And the popularity of basketball is significantly increased. And you know what? I know Canada is a hockey culture, a hockey country, but I don't see it that being much longer in the future years. I think basketball is the upcoming sport. It's a cool sport that a lot of kids like to play. Not to be biased. But,
no, not at all.
But I definitely think that there are more, kids playing basketball and a lot more opportunities. Jamal Murray, Dylan Brooks are, the few younger, players that are in the league right now are making huge impact. And, I think there's a lot of growth in basketball. And, as the NBA, we're trying to do our part to continue that participation, and we're starting at a very young level, and it's a great opportunity and an amazing time for basketball in Canada.
Knowing full well the amount of Canadians that are playing in the NBA,
yeah,
is there a favorite that you have that you enjoy watching?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. All the Canadians are really making an impact and making a name for themselves. One person I'm very impressed with as of late is Jamal Murray.
I was gonna say the same guy.
Man,
yes.
Yeah, Jamal Murray, man, he's shooting the lights out, and I was fortunate to be able to work with him a few months back. But he's a sniper, I guess you could say in basketball terms, where he can shoot the lights out. And there was one highlight that was all over social media where he kind of crossed up Steven Adams, and oh my goodness, I saw that, I almost threw my phone because I was amazed by his abilities.
I was so impressed.
Yeah.
I was like, what did he just do?
Yeah, right?
Oh
so,
my.
But you know what, he's a great example that there are kids watching basketball and want to inspire that the NBA is very reachable. And so, we've only scratched the surface, I guess you could say.
Exactly. For a guy like Jamal Murray, he comes from Waterloo. So he wasn't coming from the core of Toronto, but he's coming from the outskirts of it too. So you're seeing guys playing the game in different areas, in Brampton and Markham and everywhere, and they're just picking up on the game, and it's taking them places, which is outstanding to see, especially with the time and age that we are in now, and having all of these Canadians coming out through people that they follow too. I know growing up on Vince Carter, a lot of these guys say that was what led them to playing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Vince Carter, you could say that he's almost a pioneer when it comes to basketball in Canada. His highlights, his his dunks that everyone admire really made an impact to the younger generation. And you hear it from veterans like Tristan Thompson and Corey Joseph. Like, they watched Vince Carter growing up, and now the younger generations are watching them. And so the fact that it kind of hits close to home, knowing the fact, like, yeah, these guys grew up in the same sort of area that they grew up in. Why not them? They can make it as well. And so definitely the growth of basketball in Canada is increasing, and very happy to see that.
What is your advice for those who are seeking to make their passion either a full-time job or continue it as a side hustle?
Man, my advice is a lot of things, actually. There's so much to say. Biggest thing is keep at it. Don't be discouraged, and learning more about patience. A lot of times where you set a goal and you want it done and accomplished right away. Like, hey, I want to work for the NBA. I want to be working at the NBA for the next week.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of time, but don't be discouraged by it, and definitely keep at it. And while you're waiting for that opportunity, educate yourself. I think that, educating yourself and really beefing up what you're able to bring to the table, and really specifying exactly what sort of the business you want to get into. And a lot of people, when they say I want to work for the NBA, not knowing exactly what they want to do specifically, there are a lot of aspects of the business that you could get into. For example, you can get into new business development, you could get into events, you could get into global partnerships, there's finance, right? There's a lot of things that you can get into. I know that the popular ones is like, oh, I want to be the one like on the court, or I want to do events, but there are other things that you could get into to get your foot in the door, and then potentially once you get your foot in the door, you could get into something that you really want to get into. Don't think small, think outside the box. Just because you live in Toronto, where this is the only place you're able to get an opportunity, no, there are the other places in the world that you could get into the same sort of position. And just don't limit yourself. For me, I had to go all the way to India for me to come back to Toronto and get my position. And so don't limit yourself. There's other entities as well. If you really want to work in sports, but in basketball, there's the NCAA, there's, the CIS or U Sports nowadays. And, there's the, CYBL, sorry, pardon me, the CBL, the Canadian, the NBL rather. So there's a lot of entities that you could get into. Pick up a phone and call whoever you need to call to make that connection.
I want to thank Christian Alicpala again for joining us on Passion Projects, and remember to stay true to your goals. And as Chris Bosch once said, do things you love. If you don't know what you love, find things you love. Don't say it, work at it. If you put in the hard work, you're going to get great things. And remember to follow along with @PileDoshi on Twitter, Instagram, and SoundCloud for the next podcast. Bye for now.